organization. His initiatives have redefined DTDC's market approach by transforming DTDC Express Limited into a holistic logistics solutions partner. Ladies and gentlemen, I request all of you to put your hands together for Mr. Abhishek Chakraborty as I request him to come to the dais. A big round of applause for him, please. Very warm welcome to you, sir.
Very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I am Abhishek Chakraborty, Executive Director of DTDC. Some of you may not know me, but I certainly hope you have heard or seen our brand, and I'm sure you've seen, I don't know, can we have the first name? Yes. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen the gentleman who's there on our slide, where I think he's a little more familiar with this part of the country. So, the subject that I've been asked to speak about or talk about in terms of what we've been doing as an organization is about digital transformation and what digital transformation we do for driving customer value. But I think before I get into what our journey, our experience has been, I felt just to set a little bit of the context to lay down what we see, what we've been observing that's happening all over the world, and certainly been affecting all our businesses, all our industries as well. So I think when we talk about technology, we talk about disruption, and disruption is certainly there everywhere. I wanted to share with you just a couple of brands. I'm sure we all know these brands, we're familiar with them, or at least are hearing a lot about them. It's strange to see today that a brand like Airbnb has got more value today than some of the largest hotel chains in the world, without owning a single room anywhere in the world, right? We're all, yesterday I was quite impressed that when I was landing at the airport, now there's a dedicated counter for the Olas and Ubers, and it's really snazzy and nice, whereas for your traditional taxi you need to go out and stand in queues. So disruption has changed that. So today people feel it's the valuation of a company like an Uber or an Ola is probably more than most of the auto manufacturers whose cars are being driven by their drivers. And there's another example I found really interesting. There's a hotel in Japan, in Nagasaki. It's called the Enna Hotel. In 2015, it became the first hotel in the world to completely eliminate the need for any human beings, right from the check-in process to the process of putting away your luggage or getting you your room service. We all knew growing up that the hospitality industry, what India prides itself on, the whole Atithi Devo Bhava feeling was all about you need to have human beings across the table to really make you feel welcome and special. But here's a hotel that's completely eliminating the need for human contact to get better efficiencies, better processes. So this is just a few examples, but I'm sure all of this is just a few symbols or signposts of what's happening in the world. Essentially, I felt that there's a context around which I'd like to speak about what we've been trying to do as an organization. There are three imperatives which I feel are affecting us and therefore making us look at the world differently. So the first thing is that disruption is dynamic and it's omnipresent, it's everywhere, right from your smartphones to the way you consume your products and services, how you like to even today or get a house help to work for you at home, or what are the simplest things that you need for your daily life. Everything is getting disrupted, and it means that those who are incumbents, those who probably been the giants of a certain industry for a long period of time, there is no guarantee that they're going to have success in the future. Certainly with all this disruption, the expectation that customers have is seriously changing. The same customer who probably expected a certain kind of service, especially let's say in our industry, if someone was okay with getting a service in 5 days or 6 days, they're talking about getting it in a day or two, and at the same time there's talks of giving services in 5 or 6 hours. It's all, with the whole hyper-local stuff that's happening everywhere. So the expectations are changing, and thus the rules by which you play your game, the rules by which you set up your business are also going to change. And of course, competition comes from all kinds of unexpected quarters. Again, in our industry, we always saw the world as very simple. There was the customer, and there were all of us as members of the industry trying to serve our customers. And lo and behold, in a few years' time, in the last few years, we realized that sometimes our customers are probably our biggest competitors. We take business from our customers, at the same time our customers invest on certain systems and technologies or business models which actually compete with us as well. So your competition could be anywhere, it could be everywhere, it could be a small startup being set up in some remote part of the country could tomorrow be a game changer in the industry. So therefore, I think the whole context is that business leaders needed or need to start embracing this change. They need to understand that it is IT or technology is no longer a domain what you leave to your IT departments. It is no longer the CIO who cares and worries about technology and disruption and digital. It's very much the business leaders, the CEOs, the people who really run the business who need to start embracing that. And that's kind of the context in which what DTDC has tried to do. So, the rest of what I will speak about is how in this context, having seen this kind of a world and having seen the changes that we were observing, what did we do as an organization? What did we have to, change in our own way of doing business, and how is that bringing about what I would like to call as a digital transformation in our business, and how it drives value for our customers. So just a little bit about our business, in case some of you may not be familiar. We look at ourselves as an ecosystem enabler. We're India's leading express parcel player. We are probably the only Indian multinational, and we call ourselves an Indian multinational because we're one of the few companies, probably the only company born in India, which has got a presence in more than 20 countries outside of India. And we are one of the few companies today in the market that cover the entire supply chain spectrum, right from handling small documents to your express parcels, to handling larger logistics and supply chain mandates, managing warehouses, fulfillment centers, and of course a very thriving e-commerce, e-fulfillment, and as well as a cross-border business which we do. And we take some pride in sharing this, that we are the second largest network that exists in the country outside of the postal department through our reach. We've got more than 11,000 physical touch points across the country through which we cover this large nation. And of course, a few more highlights of what we've managed to do in the last few years. We handle more than 150 million shipments every year, and that's growing at a very rapid pace, which means constantly we are seeing greater need to find better ways to solve our business problems. Yes, GST again something that is changing a lot of things, certainly for our industry, and I'll probably share a little bit more about that later. I think overall, that's what our business is all about. We're a simple, homegrown, classic, domestic-oriented company 27, 28 years ago. Very traditional when we began, and for the largest part of our journey, we've been that way. But as I said in the context before, that things rapidly started changing. So what were those changes that we saw? So to give you a sense of that, about 5 years ago, the market was not slightly, but I would say quite different from what we see today. It was fragmented. The industry is still fragmented, but it was even more fragmented back then. You had a lot of mom and shop players who could simply own a truck and call themselves as logistics players. Market was largely stable, and I don't say stable in terms of in a positive way, but I say rather that there wasn't much desire or need really be created to disrupt the market or to change things. Technology was really not a differentiator. You could say that you were investing on technology, but you wouldn't necessarily find any appreciation for that from your customers. And I think, given the subject that I'm speaking on today, technology really makes sense when it can actually derive value for your customers. If not, and that's the situation which it was 5 years ago. There wasn't much value to investing a lot on technology, and therefore you did a little bit, but you didn't really want to do all of it. Growth was fine, growth was decent. I'm talking about 8-10% growth, and people would be happy with that. Profits would be quite decent. But something dramatic started happening. In this last 3 to 5 years, I think for our industry, and I'm sure for industries everywhere else, the whole e-commerce, the B2C, post.com boom that we've been seeing has started affecting everyone. And for our industry, it totally changed the rules of the game. It totally changed how business was supposed to be done. From a traditional retail mindset or retail way of organizing your business, people started changing the rules of where they would operate from, how they would send their parcels, what they would expect, the kind of information, expectations for things such as tracking and everything else. So it just really started, becoming quite overwhelming. And about last couple of years or 2 or 3 years back, when the talks started happening at various levels of the government and bureaucracy that GST is something India is opening up to, the elections were around 2013-14, and ever since that, the results of that election came out about 3.5 years back, I think it was quite clear to all of us that a long-standing dream of the economy to really become a GST-driven economy was definitely going to see the light of day sooner rather than later. That meant that how you designed your business was going to change. So with all of this happening, 3 things became quite clear. the competition intensified and intensified from corners that we hadn't expected. You had startups which had never done anything in this industry, which had never even, probably carried a parcel or ever owned a truck or ever owned anything remotely related to supply chain business, who came in and started, playing a big role in this whole supply chain industry. The desire, need, and therefore importance for quality in terms of the services and solutions that we provide started going up. And it also meant that we could look at newer avenues for sales. We could find newer ways to reach our customers. We could position new products and new services to customers which earlier we felt were just not relevant for the Indian market. So having understood all of this, we had a choice to make about 3 to 5 years back, and we said that we can't just run the organization the way we've been running it always. There has to be something different, there has to be a new perspective. And thus we adopted, which was something which I like to call as a digital first approach. Right? What I mean by a digital first approach is we knew there were different, newer, previously unseen business problems and challenges which we had to solve. And we had one route to take, which was to go the traditional way, trying to solve it, and the other was to be a little more disruptive, a little more innovative. So we said that for any business problem or challenge that we are facing or are going to face, let us see if there is a digital or a technology-driven way to solve that problem. We almost made that an organizational mandate, and that's what started changing the story for us. In the next few slides, I'd like to show you what are some of those major shifts or changes which we've been making, which have helped us grow our business and deliver greater value to our customers. The first thing that happened as soon as we realized that we wanted a digital first approach, we said that we need something known as a bimodal strategy. I'm sure some of you have heard about this concept, but in case you haven't, the way we look at it, at least both from a business as well as from a technology standpoint, typically businesses have got two modes in which they can operate. The mode one is the one that's more stable, that's more reliable. From a technology perspective, it would mean that you would have maybe 1 or 2 releases of your software or changes to your processes in a year. You would have a classic waterfall-driven software development or technology development model. Things were fairly, the sanity levels were quite high. And compared to that, mode 2, which demands you to have more agility, you do more experiments, you do more POCs, you learn to fail fast, and that's a terminology that I think a lot of us are hearing these days. That if you want to fail fast. Failing fast is a better way to get to success than to take a lot of time thinking about the problem and coming up with a perfect solution. So we started changing that and realizing that we needed a bimodal approach. We said that while we have got more stable, time-tested, time-proven teams and methodologies, at the same time we wanted to embrace something more disruptive. So one of the first things we did a couple of years back is that we actually invested in a technology-driven startup. This is a small company called Shipsy based out of Gurgaon. There were a bunch of young, your typical fresh out of engineering and MBA schools engineers who were looking at problems in our industry in a very different way. And obviously keeping technology at the heart and center of it all. And we felt that we wanted to marry a little bit of these two worlds. And we felt that this kind of a confluence of this mode 1 and mode 2 would probably really help us. And thus we invested in this company, and I think ever since then we've been, and ably led by our IT team, we have been actually incorporating and creating some fantastic solutions, which I will talk about in the next few slides. So this bimodal strategy was one of the first big decisions that we took. So what are the kind of problems that we're really trying to solve through this digital approach? So one of the first problems we tried to solve for our business was, at the end of the day, the quality of our business is determined by the quality of the last mile service that we provide. Everything else could work well, but if you can't guarantee to a customer that at the last point the parcel is going to get delivered, it's going to get delivered on time, it's going to get delivered at the right location by the right person, everything else is immaterial. And that became a very, very big imperative for us, especially for e-commerce, where it was no longer possible for us to provide solutions if we did not have the ability to provide absolutely real-time last point tracking solutions. So what we did was we actually worked with Shipsy and our IT team, and we created a proprietary Android-based mobility app, and we were the first ones to actually do it on a completely BYOD basis. Just to give you a sense of what that would mean, we are an organization where at any given point in time there are more than 35,000 blue-collar workers on the road across the country, in any part of the country, who are delivering parcels day in and day out. And we knew that if we've got to bring such a large audience onto a technology platform, you can't typically go the good old way where you give them ruggedized handheld devices. You expect the company to put the money in and give it out. So we said, with the technology cost coming down, with the cost of an Android phone today as cheap as I think less than 2,000 bucks, it became very much easy to imagine that every single of those 35,000 riders every day or drivers every day should be able to carry a mobile phone with them and do that. So this is an application which we've developed. It does real-time tracking for all shipments that go out. Today more than 90% of all deliveries we are doing, and that means more than 4.25 lakh packages a day. So 90% of that today is getting tracked or getting updated through this device. The remaining 10% is something we hope to complete before the end of this financial year. So by 2018, it will be 100% of the network. It's got a digital proof of delivery, which means when we deliver, we are able to take a picture of the proof of delivery. If we don't find you at home, we take a picture of your door so that you have a proof that our rider reached your home. Not only that, we have the complete geo coordinates of where our rider has been saved in our system, which means if our clients want it, and indeed they do, we're able to share that information with them as well. And the best feature today is that we can now customize instructions. So if a parcel of a particular client needs a specific instruction, for example, I need to swap something, or I need to exchange a product, or I need to take a specific signature or a seal from a client, today a specific instruction flows into the app, which means the rider could be doing a different process for 5 of the packages and a different process for the 6th application. So this really started, I think all of this has meant that now the visibility that customers have is tremendous, and we are actually creating certain new business models with our clients to take advantage of this kind of technology. With the advent of e-commerce, we also realized that the need for fulfillment would become big. A lot of traditional businesses, traders, who earlier used to be probably mom and pop stores or used to just have their market limited to a certain geography, started moving towards the e-commerce business. They became sellers on these marketplaces. And we knew that there is a huge demand and need for having a shared fulfillment center where a trader can keep his parcels and yet have those orders processed everywhere. So today, in our fulfillment centers, we are able to manage orders for our clients where they could probably have 100 units of a certain product and have those same 100 units reflected across all the platforms, whether it's a Flipkart or a Paytm or an Amazon or indeed their own websites. And we can offer today a solution of multi-channel omni-commerce, which means you could move a product through your website, you could move a product directly from your fulfillment center directly to your store, you could move it from your store to your customers as well. So that means that our fulfillment business is also growing quite in a big way, and a lot of traditional brands, surprisingly, who've never done online, who've never done e-commerce, are now adopting a fulfillment approach to go live with their e-commerce dreams initiatives, and we're helping that go live as well. Moving on, this is another innovation that we did with our technology teams. So for the longest time in our industry, the biggest problem was that while the last mile, you still have some information. Some other players, global players, would probably use ruggedized handheld devices. That was not such a new thing. But I think one of the biggest things that's lacking today is how do you give customer the visibility right from the first touch point? How do you guarantee that when a client wants a parcel to be picked up, right from the moment he places the order online, he can see a rider coming to his doorstep to pick up the parcel, and actually the first scan for a parcel happens from a customer's location. That's something which we built. It's known as a DTDC shipping tool. It's already gone live. It's still in the early stages, but it's giving us some tremendous insights and data. And we're able to integrate today with APIs, with Excel uploads, with systems that are deployed on the premises of our customers. We can not only handle today forward movements, but a massive growth and demand is there for the reverse business. As businesses are going deeper, as the need for spares and similar return material, e-commerce return material increases, we are able to handle and manage all of that. As I said, everything starts from the customer's premise. And the best part is we are disrupting ourselves. For 25, 26 years, the rule of our industry was you would have a person carrying a piece of paper known as the consignment note or the airway bill and take a pen and write it in front of the customer. We are disrupting that. We are saying that by 2019, more than 60% of all orders will not really need a piece of paper. It will be completely digital airway bills and digital labels that will be processing our shipments. Of course, coming to probably the last bit that I wanted to cover was, apart from the fact that we're doing a lot of first mile, last mile technologies, we realized that there was a huge need for automation. I'm sure, for a long time, most industries in India grew, whether it was the BPO sector or even our industry, is because the labor costs were understood or assumed to always be very cheap, much lower when compared to global averages. And that meant that it was fine to design your business across having just people alone, and you would put more people to solve the problem and it wouldn't hurt you much because the entry level costs were quite low. But I think over the last 3 to 4 years, we've been seeing that the cost of resources at every level of, whether it's your blue collar workforce or every level of the management structure as well, costs are going up, and that's bound to happen as the nation grows, as quality improves. People will expect to get paid more, and that meant that we could not imagine our business any longer just thinking that there will be more people needed to solve the problem. So we knew that we have to go for automation. We need to change the way in which the physical part of our business is done as well. So some of the initiatives we've done, we are probably the largest user of automated sorting machines today. 8 facilities in DTDC, which cover all the major markets today, have sorters that are present, which allow you to do primary and secondary sorting of parcels without requiring human intervention. We have dimensional scanners. One of the challenges we used to face with our clients is that you have a lot of discrepancies coming in. People complain, I gave you a parcel that was worth or weighed 2 kgs, you said it was 2.5. So we said, why leave that human element in that as well? With our dimensional scanners today, we get absolutely accurate weights, including dimensional profiles, which not only help us give the most transparent prices and costs to our customers, but helps us plan our own supply chain utilizations much better. So we really know when we fill our trucks, what's the volumetric space that our trucks occupy, so that we are able to optimize that and actually pass on those benefits back to our clients. Of course, I think the era of the good old PC is definitely nearing its end. At least in our business, we have a clear plan that by 2020 there should be no classic personal computers on any of our desks, whether in the office or on the shop floors. And to make that change, we started investing on handheld-based technologies, again Android-based solutions, which today allow us to probably save up more than 20% of space, more than 30% in terms of the manpower required, and yet process parcels much faster. And the beauty is today we can process parcels not only in our facilities, we can process parcels in our customers' facilities, because once you don't need the human being to be tied to a machine which is fixed to a desk, the business goes wherever the handheld device moves with that person. Last but not the least, we are the only player in our industry. As parcels increase, and we are a large user of the airline services. We are in fact the largest consumer of commercial airlines cargo space in the country today, and that means there's a huge responsibility on us that every parcel that we carry needs to be certified that it is not carrying dangerous goods. Having dangerous goods on board of aircraft, obviously it's not only an IATA violation, but it's also a huge risk, given that there are millions of passengers who travel on the same flights which also carry our cargo. And we were the first player in the market to proactively understand that it could no longer be just left to the airlines to arrange the security and screening of parcels only at their terminals. It meant that we were wasting a lot of time at the airport terminals because the parcels needed to get scanned in those X-ray machines. So we started investing on having X-ray machines in our own hubs integrated with our sortation and conveyor system, which means that when a parcel is X-ray certified by DTDC, it goes faster onto the tarmac without requiring the same number of checks what any other player would need. Which means not only are we giving a more secure package to the airlines and ensuring safety, but indeed our parcels reach the aircraft very faster and therefore leave the aircraft very faster as well. So all of this automation clearly has helped us reimagine our infrastructure as well. The way we used to design our hubs, our facilities is going to change. From an old manual driven process, when you start moving to automation driven process, you suddenly realize that the same space can be utilized better, and indeed you can increase the space as well and probably increase your throughput by a multiple factor. So to give you one short example before I conclude, that thanks to these technologies available today, in 3 months time in Delhi, in our capital, less than 2 kilometers from the airport, we are coming up with the industry's largest integrated facility. It's more than 100,000 square feet in size, fully automated with cross-docking operations, where we can handle not only domestic parcels, e-commerce parcels, as well as international parcels, all flowing through the same hubs for the first time for our industry. And all of that has been made possible simply because of the automation and the technology that we do. So I've got about 6 minutes on the clock, so I'll just conclude before I maybe take some questions from you. So my point today is that I think digital transformation is an imperative that no business, and I can't really think of any business today that shouldn't take digital transformation as an important imperative for the business. the context of the world is changing. It means that the way your customers want to behave with you or want to work with you is definitely changing or has already changed. And while maintaining your roots, in your traditional philosophies, in your culture is absolutely something that you should. But at the same time, embracing this change and really changing the mindset and the way in which you do business is something digital transformation allows you to do. And I don't think in the coming future, the next 4 to 5 years, any organization which has a pan-India business or wants to reach out to large mass market customers or even B2B customers without some degree of digital disruption in their business, I don't think it will be possible to really create any customer value for the future. That is something we as DTDC strongly believe in. And this digital transformation is our way of ultimately delivering value, which is at the end of the day our core mission statement. So thank you so much.
If there are any questions, then we can take a couple of questions. Yes. Can we have the microphone?
If you compare DTDC, just an example, I don't know, I mean any idea, just asking. If you compare DTDC logistics with Amazon logistics, Amazon is using drones. So do you have any plans to compare that to match their logistics?
Sure. So it's a very interesting question. I think we get asked this question often. So we are partnered with the DPD Group, which is Europe's second largest express parcel player. And together with them, we build a lot. So a lot of these technologies and systems that we see are actually co-created or co-visioned together as an Indian brand along with our global partners as well. So our partners have already got licenses to run drones in France and most of Europe. So today for us the question is not so much of whether the technology exists or it can be used or not. I think the right use case is what needs to be defined. And more importantly, we're going to have more challenges to solve as industry and government to make the regulations around it. Because with drones, the issue is not whether the technology is viable. The issue is whether you can guarantee safety and security. Because today with the technology being very accessible, even a small kid somewhere could fly a drone, and we know all kinds of threats and risks that are beginning to emerge. So I think it's going to reach a stage where government and industry is going to get onto a dialogue and really talk about how some of these disruptive technologies will be used. I mean, I give a similar parallel example. If someone were to ask me a question, do I see the same diesel and petrol vehicles probably flying through the cities by 2025, carrying cargo and shipments? I think not. I think there will come a time where I think the Honorable Minister who spoke before me clearly said that energy and our pollution is something we're all very worried about. We've seen what's been happening in Delhi. So a similar question one could ask is, do we have the ability to have electric vehicles running in our cities? And or probably take it to another level. Can we have electric unmanned cargo vehicles running in a city delivering parcels and packages? So I think we're reaching a stage where technology is not the hindrance, it's how you build the ecosystem. And I think industry and government need to come together to regulate and create a platform. Because what cannot happen is one player doing it on their own, but probably violating a lot of laws and norms which could be dangerous for their customers. So I think that's the way we would approach it.
Yes, one last question. We have.
Hi, I'm from Accenture. So if I may please compare with what's happening maybe in some parts in the United States and the vision that you have, more so from the DTDC standpoint, like printing labels and enabling customers in this today's world where we all have printers and we have gone ahead. Can we think, or are we thinking that we can have drop boxes maybe in the malls or somewhere? I print my label, I put it on my box, I put it back in your drop box, and that starts. And it's already prevalent. You must be knowing very well, right? So any thoughts from this?
It's actually a very interesting question from you. So this is something still very much, I would say, not yet ready to share it with the public. But since you've asked this question, I can tell you we're actually doing a pilot now. We've worked with an external vendor to create a machine which almost is like the ATM for the courier industry. The whole idea being there that a customer can come in with their smartphone. They will have a QR code on their smartphone which uniquely identifies them, and they bring a parcel along with them. They've already chosen the package, they've chosen the parcel weight and size and value. And there will be a machine which we plan to install initially in some of our facilities, but eventually in the future in the high street locations, in malls, where it's probably not easy to create an entire office, but very similar to put just a simple ATM kind of machine where you just scan your label, you do a QR code exchange. With digital payments now being a reality, you don't even need to transact money and you just drop your parcel in. We've actually got Bangalore is a location where we are doing some of the pilots with that. So yes, I think a lot of this is absolutely happening. I see by 2025 we probably will tell our customers that you don't even need to actually print a label, right? I mean, as long as you can just come with a QR code on your phone, even to any of my offices across the country, we'll be able to digitally transfer the information and actually have a small tag or a simple reader attached to a parcel, which allows that parcel to be uniquely identified. Because the whole idea is that it speeds up things, but I guess somewhere we are also becoming conscious about our carbon footprint as well. So technology actually helps you to save cost, reduce your carbon footprint, and become a more responsible player as well, while giving fantastic services and solutions to your clients. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, sir. On that note, we are going to close this session, and I will request Mr. K.K. Mohapatra,